have a question to start with. I want you to just think about this for a minute. When was the last time you had a really embarrassing moment? We all have them at times. You know those moments where you do something stupid or say the wrong thing and you just wish you could die in that moment? Those kind of things actually happen to me quite often. I am kind of accident prone, and I can't tell you how many times I've tripped in front of people. I almost fell in a swimming pool speaking at one event because it was behind me and I got too close. Almost fell in. Anybody had a really great, funny, embarrassing moment recently? Nobody? I'm the only one this happens to in Moab because I keep asking that question. I asked, you've had one? Yesterday. Yesterday? What happened?
I looked at somebody and called them the wrong name, and I really thought that was
Oh, I hate that because I want to honor people, and so then you feel so bad. Did you guys hear that because she called someone the wrong name? I have done that one myself. So I was speaking to a group a couple months ago, and I asked that question, and there was a little old man in the very back that raised his hand. And he said, can I tell it? And so he came up here, and I gave him the microphone, and he said recently his family had had kind of a gathering at a restaurant, and all his grandchildren had come, and they were all out in the lobby waiting for their table to be ready. And he saw his little granddaughter over by the jukebox, and she was leaned over looking at the songs, and she had on little short shorts, and he thought he'd sneak up behind her and pinch her. And so he sneaks over there and gives her a pinch on her hind, and she turns around. It's not his granddaughter. And it's worse than that, because her family watched this whole thing happen. And they were not happy of this dirty old man. And they started yelling at him, which caught his family's attention. And they're like, Dad, what's the matter with you? He said, I prayed for a heart attack in that moment because I had no longer a will to live. That was one of the best ones I've heard. So I want to tell you about one that happened to me that I think was one of my worst moments. Years ago, I did a lot of sales training. Has anybody had to do sales? Anybody in the room been a salesperson? Have you ever had to do cold calls? Okay, they're the worst kind of sales. But I was getting pretty good at them, and I taught people how to do it. So I was pretty confident, and my boss at the time had this idea that we would have a room full of hundreds of people, and they would hook up my phone to a microphone and hand me a random phone number, and I would do a cold call live on the stage, which was risky to begin with. But they gave me the number, we dialed, this woman answered, and I kind of started with my spiel of what I say. And she says, lady, just stop right there. You have the most annoying voice I've ever heard, and I can't even stand listening to you. Hung up the phone. I could feel my face just turn red. I tried to recover. I made this joke. That's why they call them a cold call. But I was really embarrassed. And then it was even worse after because my boss came up and I was hoping to get some reassurance. And he said, yeah, you really do have an annoying voice. You need to work on that. How do you work on that? This is kind of what you're born with, isn't it? And I know I have a Utah accent because I hear about it all the time. Do you guys know we say funner? I say funner. I think funner is a word. Apparently it's not a word.
It is in Utah.
It is in Utah. But I've been told on TV, you can't say that because that's not really a word. So I'm working on it. But the reason I tell you this embarrassing story is because the reason when we do embarrassing things and we feel stupid, the reason it's so painful is because it actually just triggers what is already our deepest fear. And that's the fear that we're not good enough. And all of us have this fear. I think this fear starts when we're just a little kid, because no matter what kind of kid you are, everybody around you is saying you need to be different. Don't do that. Don't be like that. You need to be different than this. And you hear it so often that you really get this message that maybe who you are isn't right. It isn't adequate. It isn't enough. And as you get older, it just gets worse, right? You go to school, especially junior high, and then you start comparing yourself with everybody, and you can never win. You never look good enough, you're not smart enough, it just gets worse. And I hoped when I got to be an adult, I wouldn't battle it anymore. You still do. Matter of fact, as an adult, there's even more levels that you can now fail on, because you can fail in your career and in your marriage and as a parent. I mean, no matter what you do as a parent, you feel guilty like you weren't enough, right? Yeah, all the moms in the room were like, yeah, most guilt-ridden job ever. You can't do it good enough. Can't do it perfect, that's for sure. So, one of the reasons that we need to talk about this fear tonight is this fear causes us issues and trouble on a daily basis. We feel it. And it causes most of the bad behavior that we're going to talk about tonight. Now, there's a second fear that is also very common that almost all of us deal with on a daily basis, and it is the fear of loss. The fear that your life's not going to be good enough. And there are just so many things in life that we get afraid of losing. We get afraid of losing people that we love. I drive my kids nuts because I'm so afraid something will happen to them. We can lose money. We can lose opportunities. We can lose our reputation. You guys know. I think all of us go through times in life we think maybe we've made wrong decisions and we kind of ruined the whole thing and it's never going to be what it could have been. So this fear of loss kind of haunts us. Now the reason we're going to talk about these tonight is I believe these two fears motivate a large percentage of our behavior. Like maybe as much as 80% of all human behavior is trying to cover for these fears. Even when you think about it, a lot of the nice things we do for people, sometimes we're doing them so that they'll tell us how wonderful we are and make us feel validated like we're good enough. So much of our energy is to try to quiet these fears, and we work real hard and we try to accomplish things or anything that will make us feel better and make these fears go away. Now, I want you to understand that these fears cause you trouble most of the time on a subconscious level. You're not really realizing that that's the problem, but it's playing out in your subconscious mind. So I've got this picture of an iceberg tonight because I want to teach you something about how your brain works. You literally have two parts of your brain. You have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. And your conscious mind is that little piece that's above the surface of the water. Your subconscious mind is the big giant piece beneath the surface that's causing most of the problems. And all through your life, you've been making rules or policies in your subconscious mind about who you are and about the world. And I'll give you some examples. When I was a little kid, I remember my mom saying, "Oh, don't go out like that. What will the neighbors think?" And I went, "Oh, so you mean I should be afraid of what other people think of me? So I'll spend the rest of my life worried about that." Anybody else got that one? Anybody not got that one? I think we all, somewhere along the line, we got this subconscious fear that it matters what everybody thinks of us. And it's causing problems. Another one that happened to me as a kid, my parents were always telling me, don't make anybody feel bad. You be nice. If you make anybody feel bad, you're a bad person. Well, that made sense maybe when we were little kids, but as an adult, sometimes I have to give someone some feedback, and it might make them feel bad, but it might be in their best interest to hear it. It might be the loving thing, but I'm scared to have those talks because I'm scared of being a mean person. And sometimes I let people walk on me, but I'm nice. Anybody else have that one? Okay, so what I want you to see is we've got a lot of these fear-based rules that are playing out in your subconscious mind. And the reason there's such a problem is that your subconscious mind moves really fast when things happen. So if I'm out in public and I trip and fall on my face in a big group of people, which has happened before, I immediately feel bad, feel stupid. My face turns red. I don't decide to feel that way. I didn't even think about it. Boom, that's just where my head went. I immediately feel that way. But the really cool thing is that your conscious mind, even though it's smaller, is more powerful. If you consciously choose to feel different in any moment, you can override that program that doesn't serve you. So let me give you an example. I made a new rule in my life that what other people think of me is irrelevant, because I'm the same me no matter what they think. Anybody like that rule? I love that rule. So now, when I trip and fall on my face, my subconscious mind makes me embarrassed, my face turns red, and then I go, wait, I'm going to choose to remind myself that what other people think is irrelevant, because I'm the same me no matter what they think. If they think I'm clumsy and dumb or whatever, I go home, I'm the same me. Didn't change me. So that's a really powerful new rule. And all the things I'm going to teach you today are ways that you can override those fears that come up in your mind. Because it's time to take charge of our heads and have some rules that are more based in truth than fear. And imagine how peaceful we could get if we can get rid of some of those. And I'm going to teach you tonight some ways that you can do that.